We are here for regular math pages and going over our new concept today. So we get to learn another new concept, which is going to be a fun one, okay? It's going to kind of maybe make you understand why on your report card, why is there only one grade on my report card for math? I took a bunch of math tests and quizzes, and yet I only get that one grade. What did she do? Just take a grade and just be like, okay, you get this grade, and just throw it on the report card? How does that even work? What about spelling? I took a bunch of spelling tests. Why is there only one grade? Maybe you're not understanding why we have just one grade for that spelling, or for history, or for science, or whatever. That one grade is the average of all of your spelling grades, or all of your history grades, or all of your math grades, okay? It's putting all of them together. And it's going to be something that I'll explain to you how we're going to do it in just a little bit. But it's kind of a fun thing to do. Averaging is fun because it takes a bunch of those numbers and it puts them together in a way that you can find just the middle of number, that average of what it's supposed to be. And that's what we're going to be practicing today. You'll hear on the news many times, oh, the average high temperature in April is 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Does that mean every single day in April was 63 degrees? No, not at all. Because you've been through almost the whole month of April. We're in April 27th. And you know that there have been days that have been 65, 66, almost 70. And then there's days that are 45 and 40 degrees, and sometimes lower because it's snowing and all that. So they took the high temperature each day in the month of April, and they averaged it together to get a middle temperature that, you know, it was between these two, and that middle idea is what we're talking about, that middle number of those, okay? And I'll explain it as we go through. It's a very interesting and fun concept to be able to do. So the average is simply the middle number of a group of numbers, okay? So when you're looking at a group of numbers all together, you add them all together, and then you're going to divide, which we'll talk about, and it's that middle number in a group of numbers. That's what an average is. So there are 2 steps and then 3 that you'll kind of be doing to find your average. The first thing you need to do is find the sum. Well, what's the sum? The sum is the answer to addition. Remember, we learned addend. Now we have another addend, sum, okay? So we know that the sum means that we need to add. And then the second step is divide the sum by the number of addends. This is why we learned those terms, those phrases, so we wouldn't miss this. So we're going to divide by the number of addends. 1 addend, 2 addends, 3 addends. And we divide our sum by the number of addends to get our average. It says the quotient is the final answer or the average, okay? And then you circle the final answer. You circle that average so that everybody knows that's what they came up with for the average number, okay? So, some examples. To find the average of a group of numbers, you're first going to add those numbers together. So, that's what our first step says. So let's do what our first step says. They gave me numbers. I'm just going to put my plus sign, and I'm going to simply add them together, okay? So let's go down together. 4, 11, 16, carry over the 1, 10, 19, 27. So my answer is 276. Now, remember, that's not the only step. That's just the first step, okay? 276 is finding my sum. What was my second step? After I find the sum, what do I have to do next? Divide the sum. Don't forget, some people in the past would just leave this as the average. There's no such thing as a 282 average for 9 things in the 90s. My answer has to be somewhere in the 90s, and I'll explain that in just a second. So after I find my sum, then I divide the sum by the number of addends. So I take my sum, 276, and I make my little division house, and then I count how many numbers did I add together. You are not counting each individual place. No, we're counting the addends. 1 addend, 2 addends, 3 addends. It sometimes could be 4 or 5 addends. It sometimes could be 2 addends. It doesn't matter but whatever that number is, make sure you divide by that. Okay. Obviously, when we're doing your grades, we're taking 6, 7, 8 addends together and then dividing them. So we're going to figure out how many 3s. We can't go into 2. So how many 3s are in 27? Very good. 9. And then we multiply. 9 times 3 is 27. Subtract. That's 0. Compare. Yes. Bring down. There is something. How many 3s are in 6? And there are 2 3s in 6. 2 times 3 is 6. 0. Compare. Nothing left to bring down. We're done. What do we have to do? Circle the quotient. Third grade, if I don't see a circle, I'm going to hand it back and say, oh, do it again. Got to do it again because you did not add your circle. This is to show me that you say, okay, this is the number. This is what I'm settled with. This is my answer, okay? So 92 would be my average. Now, this is what I want you to catch from this. My number cannot be any lower than my 85. It can't be lower than that because I didn't get lower than that. The middle number can't be under 85, and it can't be over 97. So when I look at my biggest and my smallest numbers, I know that my answer has to be in between them. And is 92 in between 85 and 97? Yes, it is, okay? So this is like what would happen for, let's say, math quizzes. You got a 94 on the first math quiz, a 97 on the second, and 85 on the third. If we average those 3 math quizzes together, your average grade would be a 92, okay? You would have a low A. So that's good. You had a high A, so that helped. If this A weren't here, this might be a little bit lower because the 85 would bring you down. But you have your lowest and your highest, and the answer should be in between those, okay? Now, like we said, it's not always grades. Don't look at, oh no, somebody got a 49 and a 63. No, it's not always grades. Sometimes it's temperature. Sometimes it's just random numbers that people are averaging together. So don't look at this and go, oh no, somebody did horribly on their grades. No, this is just numbers that they put here for you. So we're going to add our addends together. We need to find the sum. Step number 1, find the sum. Say it. Step number 1, find the sum. Step number 1, find the sum. Step number 1, find the sum. Get it in your head so you won't forget. All right, 7, 10, 19. My 9 comes down. Carry over. 1 plus 7, 8. 4, 6, 14, 18. So 189, okay, is my sum. So step number 1, find the sum. And then step number 2, divide. Step number 2, divide. I'm dividing my sum by the addends, okay? Divide my sum by the number of numbers I added together. So it's 189 divided by 3. Go ahead and figure out how many 3s are in 1. No, we can't do that. Remember, we don't put zeros anymore because we're big third graders now. We know that if we can't go into the first digit, we just go into both. We just go into 18. How many 3s are in 18? Very good. Put my 6 over the 8. Now I multiply 6 times 3 18, subtract 18 minus 18, 0, compare, it's less, and then bring down my 9. How many 3s are in 9? Very good, 3. And I multiply 3 times 3, 9. 9 minus 9, 0. Compare, nothing left to bring down. We're done, except for, yes, good. I have to circle my answer. Make sure to circle your answer. Be sure to circle your answer. Be sure to circle your answer. Always circle your answer. Circle, circle your answer. Please circle your answer for me. Circle your answer. Please circle. Okay, so this is why I was telling you, you've got to know. And I love the fact that in our math curriculum, it goes by steps. If you've already learned how to add correctly, this is going to be easy. If you know how to divide properly, this is going to be easy. And that's why we've been doing all of those division steps and addition from the very beginning. They didn't throw this at you at the beginning and go, okay, you're going to add and you're going to divide. And you're like, wait, I don't even know how to divide. No, we've been dividing from the beginning of the year. And if you've been doing it with us properly, this is going to be the easiest thing because you know how to find your sum and you know how to divide. So this is going to be a super simple process for those of you that have gotten those steps down. But it's just a fun thing to do. So one of the other things, so our middle number in between 49 and 77, it can't be lower than 49, can't be higher than 77, just happens to be the middle number that's there, 63. That's the middle and the average. So it can be one of the numbers, it's just that it can't be lower than 49 or higher than 77, or we did something wrong. So I decided, let's just do an average of second, third, and fourth grade classes. What's the average number of students that we would have in those classes? Well, second grade has 10, third grade has 16, and fourth grade has 11. So let's add those together. Now, this isn't necessarily going to be an even answer that we're going to come up with. We'll see how it works. But it still gives you an idea. So 6 and 1, 7, and then 1, 2, 3, 37. So there's 37 kids total in the second, third, and fourth grade. But now we're going to take our sum, 37, and divide it by what? How many numbers did we add together? We added 3 numbers together. So 37 divided by 3. How many 3s are in 3? 1. 1 times 3, 3. Subtract, it's 0. Compare. Bring down my 7. How many 3s are in 7? How close can I get? It's going to be 2. Very good, because 2 times 3 equals 6. And so we have a remainder of 1. We don't need to put the remainder there. But the average number of students between second and fourth grade is about 12 students. Okay? So when Mrs. Nichols takes a new family around to the school, she says, oh, our classes average about 12 students per class. Doesn't mean that there's 12 students in every class. It means some classes have 10, some classes have 11, some classes have 16, some classes have 8, some classes have 9. But when we average all that together, the middle, oh, I know, okay, I hear you, I know. I didn't circle my answer. All right, calm down. Very good, I'm glad you caught that. So the average number of students between second and fourth grade, she could tell people, is about 12 students. So parents can decide, oh, that's a good amount of students for my kid, to have in their class. And it's our class that brought up that number. Because if it had just been third and fourth grade, or second and fourth grade, would that even be an option to have 12, an average of 12? No. The option would be either 10 or 11, and that's it. But because our number is so much higher, that brought it up to about 12 as our average, okay? So I want you to think about averaging some numbers together. Maybe average the age of people in your house. Oh, that's a scary one. Take everybody's age and average that together. Maybe we'll do even averaging for this week if we keep track of the weather. See the high temperature, we can give an average for this week and see what our average would be, okay? So page 283 in your books, in your arithmetic, averaging numbers. The average is the middle value of a group of numbers. Add the group of numbers. Number 1, find the sum. Number 1, find the sum. 2, divide the sum by the number of add-ins. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 2, however many numbers you added together. Not individual 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, no. It's 3 numbers, add-ins. So the whole number, 72, 84, that's an add-end, okay? Divide the sum by the number of add-ins, and then 3, the quotient is your average. And you circle the quotient. Circle the quotient. So they give you an example in the box, and then that's a help and a hint for you to see it closely. And then you're going to be working on section 1. There's just 2. So find the averages, which means find the sum, divide the sum by the number of add-ins, and circle the answers, okay? And then remember what we talked about, the highest and lowest numbers that it can't go be above or below. So then you're going to answer the questions. Could 28 be the average of 36 and 49? Could 84 be the average of 35 and 49? So you're going to look at those and think, if I was looking at those 2 numbers, remember it can't go under the lowest number, it can't go over the highest number, because that wouldn't make sense, that we didn't get to certain numbers. So if we're not at those certain numbers, we can't have an average of those numbers. Like, I can't have an average of 20 students per class because I don't even have the number 20 up here. It couldn't be lower than 10, and I can't say, oh, we have an average of 5 kids per class. No, it can't be lower than 10, and it can't be higher than 16, okay? So think those 2 questions through carefully. Then for your story problems, you are averaging. So they give you an inside look at Ethan's spelling grades. So you are going to give the average of his spelling grades. How did he do? Did he do as well as you do on your spelling grades? So it gives you his grades, add them together, add those answers, and then find the average by taking the sum and dividing it by your add-ins. Add, then divide. Add, then divide. There's 2 main steps. Then circle your quotient. You find the quotient and circle it. Then it gives you high temperatures. Add those high temperatures together and then divide them to find the average high temperature. Circle the answer. Section 4 on the back, divide and check. Work carefully on that. Then section 5, you're writing greater than, less than, or equal to in the blanks. Think carefully for those fractions. If you need to draw out the fractions to help you, then do that so you can see. Don't forget, thinking carefully. Then you're going to do your practicing showing how much change by putting, subtracting, finding the difference between the 2, and then writing the numbers underneath whichever coins and dollar bills and all of that. Then you're rounding to the nearest dollar. So look at those. Remember, it's not, oh, because it's 45.50, it's not rounding to the nearest $10. Because it's 125.05 doesn't mean rounding to the nearest $100. No, we're still rounding to the nearest dollar. So is it 45 or 46? Is it 125 or 126? You're rounding to the nearest dollar, okay? Section 8, follow the signs, very simple. Then you have your brain booster. So read that and think it through carefully. Remember the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit, okay? Then you've got your 12 multiplication table that you're supposed to write, and then do section 2 for the homework section. Divide and then write the remainders as fractions. So make sure to do that. Remember, just write it right next to it. You don't write remainder, you're going to write 2 3/4, 5 2/7, 6 and 3/8, okay? So you just write that as a mixed number on that division, okay? So that's your arithmetic page for today. I know you're gonna do great on it. Make me proud. See you soon.